Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast that celebrates the worldwide reach of the mighty Celtic. And from Crieff to Kiev, from Bishop Briggs to Bergamo, wherever you happen to be, you're part of A Celtic World. And all the way from Korea, returning hero, Dano, what up?
Yes. Happy Liberation Day to all my Korean fam out there. Big day here in Korea. Liberation from Japan, known as VJ Day in my country, but not a public holiday. And yeah, it's good to have a day off and join you guys, man.
VJ Day? Is that not like when women
Victory in Japan? yeah. There's a couple other references I make to that in more personal situations, but yeah, victory in Japan, baby.
Hello to everyone. Hello to Paul, first of all, before we go over to everyone in the comments. How you doing, Paolo?
Just an afterthought as a weekly recurrence. No, I'm good. When I was on last week, I was just about to go to the Jesus and the Mary Chain gig, which was lived up to expectation. It was great. And good week since then, and hoping for some more good news as the couple of days before the weekend progress.
What was the highlight of your JMC night?
Well, to be honest, all of it was great. But Just Like Honey, probably my favorite song of theirs, predictably biggest song, but it was awesome. And they had the female bassist who replaced Manny in Primal Scream. She was on the live tour, so she was doing some of the female vocals that are on some of their tracks. And then I think it was Jim's partner came and sang vocals, co-vocals on one of the tracks off the newest album. So that was pretty cool as well. But yeah, all around great gig.
And have they kept their hair, their cool teenage?
So one of them has. One of them's got. He's all over the place. But the other's a bit more boring and respectable these days in terms of hair wise. But they've still got hair, which I guess in their early to mid 60s is a win. Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny how these rockers, when they get old, they either have amazing hair and they look awesome or unrecognizable. Have you seen Robert Smith recently? It's terrifying.
No. What's happened to him?
He just looks so haggard and scary. You know?
Has he still got all the hair, though? Last time I saw him, he still had all the hair and he was carrying a bit of weight, but that was about it.
Yeah, well, are you Googling him now? A recent picture of Robert Smith?
I was gonna just to see, just to pique my own interest.
Well, while you're doing that, I will tell the people what we've got coming up. This is what the agenda is. We're going to have UEFA Champions League news, which is a polite way of saying let's all laugh at Sevco. Next, we got the little issue of the derby dicking around, this allocation business. Transfer market heating up. Lots going on there. You know, Dano, as you know, we don't really talk about transfers until they've happened, but we're so late in the window that things that hit the news at the moment, I think, have a higher chance of being reality, quite possibly. Or anyway, there's things happening.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're going to preview Hibs in the Cup and finish it off with a little bit of social media, which gives Paul the chance to respond to the sight of Robert Smith of late.
Well, it's not massively dissimilar, just greyer, wilder. The makeup looks a bit more messed up. And yeah, still carrying a bit of extra weight. But yeah, probably not. He doesn't really look like he's aged well, but I imagine he's had a reasonable reasonably hedonistic lifestyle.
Well, we shouldn't talk too much about appearance because people are starting to do that in the comments. My eyebrows, your posture, Paul, in that chair.
It's only
My
for an
fro.
hour.
Yeah.
What about Dano?
Look-
He hasn't got a back on his chair. At least I've got a back.
Yeah.
Keep it
Are
comfy,
you on the
man.
floor,
Keep it on the
Dano?
futon. No, I'm sitting on a futon. What am I?
As good as.
Futon.
Aye.
Cool. All right.
Order.
Well, let's have a word from our very good friend here to start things off.
Crashing into the Europa League we go. Over both legs, footballing wise, realistically, it is what we deserved. But yeah, of course, the referee was not helpful at all towards us tonight.
Oops. The referee was not helpful to us at all tonight, he said. Shock horror. That was the European experience, Dano. What do you make of that?
Yeah, there's a big difference between hometown and going to the continent, and Rangers definitely got a taste of it. I noticed that Sam, who has a big, Scottish football YouTube channel, was like just putting it out there right on his headline. Rangers got robbed in Europe and all this type of stuff with the red card. And I was just like, come on, Sam. I really like that channel, man. And can't say I agree.
But he is a closet Rangers fan, there's no doubt.
I think that's a pretty good guess. I wouldn't have anything to say about it, but wouldn't surprise me for sure.
He applies a veneer of impartiality.
Yeah. But you can tell, you can read between the lines, I think, for sure. And he put it right out there. This video from
cheated. He used the term cheated. Anyone who uses
cheated.
the term cheated for what happened is clearly
Yeah.
Rangers to the core, right,
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah.
Well, sounded partisan to me, so yeah, I would go with that.
Okay.
Absolutely partisan. Partisan's a good word, isn't it?
I like it.
Yeah. I just read Tito's biography too, for a little into the real history. The partisans,
Tell us about that,
the
then.
Yugoslav partisans, man, they were the hardest.
You can always guarantee you can always bet on Dano to take us to another tangent that you weren't expecting.
Yeah, baby.
In a show that is known for.
Well, I mean,
tangents.
you guys are talking Jesus and Mary, Shane. I mean, I'd say
They're a great band. You must know they're a great band. Come on.
Yeah, they're all right. I mean,
Let's
they
keep
must
it
be
on
old by
subject
now.
here of Sefco because it's fun. Here's a nice tweet here. Like, check this out. Losing
nice
with dignity. Losing out on 43 million plus pounds because we wanted to give people who can't feel their legs a more comfortable seat.
Oof.
What is that? Dano, imagine being a handicapped Rangers fan.
That sums them up, really, doesn't it?
I mean, that is, really, really awful, man. I mean, you'd be surprised if somebody like kept that up there. That is really really
there was
cool.
a fair few people giving him heat.
It got deleted.
Yeah, it did get deleted. Yeah.
I would think so. But they're in the rage, and nobody rages like those guys, man. They are hilarious.
Well, here's another one. I thought this was a parody account because the name is Stephen Turdson.
Got to be.
But I looked at some of the other tweets. I looked at some of his other tweets, and they didn't smell of it, even though the surname does. Rangers are disadvantaged in European matches as most referees are Roman Catholics, and sadly, as we know, they have an agenda against Glasgow Rangers because they're a proud Protestant club, and Europeans still angry over Brexit.
It's got to be a piss take. That's got to be.
I mean, it's got to be.
That's nonsense.
But, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, memories of Josh Windass still lurk in the background with the club. They had a couple of other hilariously named people, so it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't a parody.
I'm sure you've got more tweets in this vein, but there's the Celtic fan base have hopped on that Italian referee and his yellow whistle pretty quickly, and there's a plethora of good material out there.
Oh, man. It's been nonstop, yeah.
Another good word.
I'm only doing good words with P today.
Yeah,
what about this incident? This is Dessers shouting and screaming. Do you completely buy that he's shouting at the fans here? Because he takes a terrible touch and then he starts shouting. But the suggestion is he's shouting first of all at the linesman, then at the ref. He does seem to say F off ref or something like that. But he's turning over his left shoulder. Look where the referee is there. Stops, turns around, and then he turns over his left shoulder, not his right. He shouts. So is that to the referee?
It seems towards I don't know. It seems towards the rest of the crowd at the end there. I think he's definitely going at the ref at the start of it, but I don't know. I don't know why he'd be looking over like his left shoulder back behind him and then all around kind of thing. But
I don't know what he wants from the ref because it's just poor control, and by all accounts, there's a pretty negative reaction in the ground. Which, let's be honest, that's not uncommon and not exclusive to them. That happens in grounds all over when players lose the ball and perform poorly. But yeah, frustrated. I think it's a multiple of targets there, and I'm sure the crowd is some of it. And it doesn't really matter, whether he intended that or not. There's enough ill feeling towards him, ill will with him at the moment that it won't take much for a good chunk of his Bears, to get some bear on bear action, which is we all enjoy that.
Well, again, not my favorite kind of porn. That's what I said last time that came up.
Yeah, well, a top tip is not to recycle the same jokes when we've got the same viewers. We
don't have the same viewers. We've got hundreds of new people every time. Smashing that like button, subscribing, and hitting the bell icon so they're notified. It really helps out with the algorithm. It's completely free, costs you nothing. I'll have a D, please, Carol, says Captain Fantastic. D for what?
Disappointing.
And then this Marco Guida. Did you see his write-up here? It's a Fenian bastard Italian football referee. Is ranked as a UEFA elite category cheat. Oh, the fun we have. Just before we move on, I know, like, a lot of people say, oh, we're a Celtic channel. We never talk about anything other than Celtic. But, you've got to enjoy these moments, for goodness sake. Great. I don't know if you saw this one. I haven't seen this in the chat.
Disappointing even, and just give me your thoughts on that one.
One decision changes the game. The referee knew what he was doing. He didn't want my team to win tonight. I'm very disappointed. I had a word with him after the game. He explained to me that he was a Celtic supporter. And I says, well, how could this be? How could you be the official for tonight's game if you support the other mob? And he says, well, look at your domestic league. Most of the officials in Scotland are Huns, and that's why Rangers get all the decisions. And then he said, well, it's a grand old team to play for. And then he told me to get fucked.
Absolutely brilliant.
Genius. Man.
Can you see what that says and who that tweet is by?
Rob Riley.
Rob Riley.
Blame.
Jerry Boy is saying, that's one of mine. That was one of mine. Is that what you're talking about, Jerry? That tweet?
Yep.
I don't know. But it was a good impression, wasn't it? Huh? You weren't sure if that was genuine until he started saying about the Huns or something.
They get the cadence of his voice, like in English, pretty spot on. I mean, and you gotta love those poorly dubbed parody videos, man. That's one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube. So yeah, brilliant.
Oh, I heard something today when I was out in the car. Apparently Rangers are genuinely having a Q&A session with Clement a few days after the derby, after the Glasgow derby game. Costs like 38 quid per person to go in. And you can ask a question to the manager. Can you imagine what the atmosphere of that's going to be like if they're 5 or more points behind?
Definitely going to be akin to like early Christians going into the Coliseum or something. I mean, especially if we lose, especially if we beat them. I mean, which I would kind of expect, but that's going to be rough.
Certainly is. Okay. And then we have this. Don't know if you can read that. Maybe I'll make that full screen. This is the Celtic Star breaking the news that the Rangers had agreed to install netting at Ibrox after 7 serious incidents happened. Small away corner. Celtic have been busy making the changes to their stadium, but corresponding work has not taken place at Ibrox, which may or may not be the venue for the New Year fixture. So what's your take on this? Are Celtic completely within their rights to do this? Is it a good idea to do this? Would you do this if you were in their shoes? Dano, you're across this story, I assume. What would you do if you were Celtic hierarchy?
I mean, there's obviously been security problems going on at pretty much every single one of our last few fixtures at Ibrox, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I think they are within their rights to be prudent about this, but you know, I'm very sick of the lack of allocation and the lack of away fans just generally. I want it to go back to how it was. I think it's great to have like a big section of away supporters at either ground, but I mean, who knows when Ibrox is going to be ready generally? So they've got enough to worry about just with hosting any game, let alone you know, the Glasgow Derby. So I think Celtic are within their rights to do this. I mean, they're obviously a mess across town as far as their own venue. So, but I'm generally sick of it. I think it's stupid.
Within their rights, but what's the alternative is let them come and take up their allocation and then give them the time to sort their end out. And then if they don't, you pull the fans, our fans, from going there. Right. And then it's left in no doubt as to who's, you know, the problem child here in this relationship. Paul, what would you have done?
Well, it's pretty obvious who the problem child is to anyone who hasn't got orange blinkers on. Yeah, I agree with Jerry. They've got they're an absolute shambles. They're the ones that caused this mess in the first place. If we've got no confirmation of safety for fans, or even they don't even know which ground they're going to play in. Like, they don't know which grounds they're going to play in. To make the changes they need to do, they need planning permission from the council. They haven't even submitted that yet. That's, you know, it takes some time. Yeah, it should be done. If they submitted it this week, it'll be done before the next fixture. But they can't submit it because they don't know which ground they're going to be in. So I've got very little sympathy for them. We've done them a favour. We'll pump them on the 1st of September. And they'd have been leaving early doors anyway, unless they were locked in from safety point of view. So, I think I agree with Dano. We want away fans back in the fixture. It's been too long as it is. It was a bit of progress to get to 2,500, 3,000 fans. But why should we give up space in our ground for our fan base if we're not got the potential for? There's no guarantee on the reciprocal coming the other direction. Exactly. So it's clearly their problem. Yeah, they're trying to spin it, but the real story is out there. We've spent quite a lot of cash on upgrading the turnstile section and some other work around there, and they've done zip. So yeah, it's a bit of a crap situation, but it's not of our making, and I don't see why we should punish our fans if they can't get their house in order. If it was the other way around and they'd kept up their end of the bargain and we were being wishy-washy and not being able to confirm anything, you can guarantee they wouldn't be giving us tickets. So I stand by the club on this one. Hopefully it can be resolved the second half of the season, but it all lies at their door because they're an utter shambles, and this is just another example of it.
Yep.
Yeah, not much sympathy in the comments, I see, also. But look, we spent far too long talking about them, so let's bring it right back to this news as we move on to transfers. Now then, let's just quickly translate this to English. Atalanta relaunch for O'Reilly. He's the post-coup miners. And Wesley, somebody else they want to buy, is also getting closer. Atalanta rises to 27 million for the Dane. The deal is very close. There he is looking very Italian. doing the hands. Hey, come on, referee, arbitro.
Oh,
2 million still separate Atalanta and Celtic from the definition of the deal for the purchase of Matt O'Reilly, 24 years old. Danish midfielder, brackets, or rather all-rounder. Is he? I would describe him as a midfielder. What does that mean?
yeah. All
He's going to
rounder.
replace Coop Miners, yeah, because they've agreed to sell him for 55 million euros. This is all euros, obviously.
Mm.
So it says he prefers to go to the Nerazzurri. What does Nerazzurri mean?
Black and blue.
Very good. Rather than to Brighton, because they're not in the Champions League, but Atalanta are. So they reckon that's what gives them the edge in this, and that the deal is very, very close.
Mm.
So there was an asking price put out there. It looks like they're going to meet it or get very close to it. So, happy days all around. Nothing to complain about there, Paul. Or is there?
Well, you baited me in the group chat all afternoon, so you think you've sort of wound me up and ready to go, and you save it up for the live show. Well, it looks like the asking price, if the stuff that's coming out at the minute looks like the asking price is too low as far as I'm concerned. 27 million euros. If it rises to the 2 million gap, is 29. Is 24.8 million pounds in current exchange rate, which is under what we got for Jota and under what we got for Kieran Tierney. Okay, by only a little smidge, but it's not good enough. Like this is the deal. The kid is 23 years old, 5-year contract. We've got a ton of cash. We don't need to sell him. We hold all the aces, just like Norwich didn't need a deal. We hold all the aces. The asking price should be 30 million quid or bloody close to it. We've got to break the 25 million pound ceiling for transfers, because there seems to be this position either by the board or the market, and or a coupling of, and that 25 million is the most you ever have to pay for a Celtic player. Well, that's bollocks as far as I'm concerned. You pay the market rate. Brendan Rodgers is on record as saying you pay for the player, not the league he's in. And I don't really give a shit that it's going to be a massive profit because we only spent 1.5 million on him. Great, we did good business at that end, but there might be a sell on in there. We don't know, so we might lose a little bit of this fee. We should definitely have a hefty sell on if we're giving away some funds at the front end. But yeah, for me, it needs to be but the longer you don't break the 25 million ceiling, the harder it is, because you don't get players that are in this perfect scenario that often. He's young, he's on a really long contract, and we're sitting on a bundle of cash. And the other club interested, if Brighton are seriously interested, and it seems they are from the richest league in the world, and they can absolutely pay more than 25 million quid. They do it all the time down there. And we know that they're getting 55 million euros for the player that they're trying to replace. So they're sitting on a pile of cash, the same as Norwich had us over a barrel with us sitting on a bit of cash. Squeeze him. Absolutely squeeze him. And if they don't want to meet, Rodgers all along has said, I'm relaxed, we've got an asking price. Well, that's fine. I'm happy with that if the asking price is high enough, but it doesn't look like it is as far as I'm concerned, so I'm a little bit annoyed.
What do you think in the comments? Is the asking price high enough? Like Matt O'Reilly, he's a good player, clearly. He's a very good player. What I was saying in the group chat earlier is, he's good, but I mean, we're kind of talking about him as if he's prime Henrik Larsson.
He's our best player, and we
he's
can't
our best
replace him.
player,
We can't replace him for all the tea in China.
He looks really good compared to some kind of average players that he plays with, and against lots of shite players in Scotland. And I don't think he's that good that I would put my house on him being a massive success wherever he goes. Dano,
two man of the matches in the Champions League and assists in the Champions League, and didn't look out of place in the Champions League. So he's only had a few times to show himself at that level, but you're trying to make it seem sweeter than it is. He'll absolutely cruise it in Serie A, and he'll go on and he'll be a superstar. So we absolutely should be.
I'd like to think that, but I don't know that that's definitely the case. Dano,
we should be treating it like it is.
Okay.
True indeed. I don't know. I mean, these things are rather opaque too. I mean, yeah, you have like the basic asking price is, reported to be 27 million euros. I mean, do we know what kind of add-ons are in there that could be, make this a better deal over time? And also, is there a sell-on clause? I mean, the whole thing is rather opaque. So we'll see what the deal is. I mean, 24.8 million pounds does seem light to me. I agree with Paul on that. But I mean, what kind of add-ons, what kind of incentives are they paying? Like, some kind of percentage over time. In addition to that, do we get a sell-on clause? Who knows? But it's a pretty good offer. And it seems like O'Reilly does want to play there. I mean, they do have an attractiveness to them for sure. But
there's a lot being made. I agree with you, Dan, but there's a lot made about the old sell-on clause. The sell-on clause often doesn't come to fruition. Dembele saw out his contract. Dembele saw out his contract. There was no sell-on there. The Dutch kid's names escaped me. That's at Leverkusen. No, the guy at Leverkusen. That was Frimpong. He's supposed to be making us, a ton of money when he goes for 40, 50, 60 million, and he's still there, right? So you only get the sell on if they sell on. So I'd rather have the funds up front.
That's funny. You only get the sell on if they sell on. That's today's snippet. I'm going to cut that just for Twitter. We've
got a few examples where we don't get the sell on. We're not going to get sell on for Kieran Tierney, really, are we?
I mean, and let's be fair here. The Italian clubs are super cheap. They always lowball as far as they can. They're just like us on the transfer market. So it's not surprising they've come in with like 4 or 5 offers, and we've had to just be patient and keep negotiating with them, because that's how almost all these Serie A teams seem to operate at the boardroom level. So yeah.
And do you not think if he was worth 35 or whatever number you have in your head, Paul, that there'd be more of a scramble with bigger clubs or bigger offers? I mean, we've eked our way to this number over the course of the transfer window.
Well, there's still 2 and a bit weeks left, so all the big money comes in the last few weeks of the window. So we've eked our way because they've been cheap, as Dano says, and hope that we'll just drop our pants and sell them on the cheap. The same as we were cheap with Norwich and Adamida. So I would, unless we've got if we're going to sell them for 25 mil. And we've got 3 first-team players that money is getting spent on. Fair enough, do the deal this week. But if we're only going to spend it on 1 player, and we're still squeaking around for cheap deals, then I'd be inclined to push him towards the end of the window. It's not like we need this money to make other transactions. We're sitting on a ton of cash.
Right.
We can make any transaction we want before this one happens, but it's classic Celtic board where they want to know that this deal's happening before they commit the money elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, if we're not in the Champions League, and we have been, and like that money's been great. There was a breakdown that Gab sent to like our group chat, and without Champions League money, our operating costs versus income is pretty low, if not negative. So I do like the board being a bit prudent, like, to be completely honest. I really wish they weren't as far as like my fandom goes, but I think it's good to have some liquid behind you. We have a lot of it. But
there absolutely is, but there's no downside to keeping Matt O'Reilly. There's no downside to keeping Matt O'Reilly.
There isn't. Yeah, absolutely.
We've got more headaches if he goes than if he stays. If he stays, unless he gets a career-ending injury, his value is only going to go up in the next 6 to 12 months. Because he's done it again in the Champions League. He's done it again in Celtic. He's had a few more international caps. His price has gone up. And then we flog him in either the next window or the one after that. At this rate, the league will be done by Christmas. So he can go in January. Happy days. Unless we're getting fair market value, he stays. He'll be gone. We'll be cheap and he'll go, but not happy about it.
I mean, with O'Reilly, I mean, this is a team I could see making making some noise, like genuinely in Europe, with O'Reilly. But who knows? Yeah, I mean the point being taken for sure that we don't have to sell him. We don't have to do anything right now. But if the deal's right and the board feels good about it, and 25 million, it's nothing to sneeze at.
Now, I remember Brendan saying when he took over that there was interest in him then. There was interest in O'Reilly then. Leeds, 10 million, that kind of thing. But Roger says he said no. We can't afford to lose another player. And I've nothing to base this on, but I imagine there was a conversation then. It was like, look, an offer came in for it. It was a good one, but you give us one more season. You play in the Champions League. You'll get a far better offer at the end of 23-24. Exactly the conversation that everyone is saying have with him now. But if it was had with him back then the die is cast. His expectations are that he will move on this summer.
I don't doubt that, Gav. I just think the asking price is too low. For the reasons stated. Like you joked about it on the group chat, but Fabio Silva went for 40 million to Wolves because of silly money in the EPL. So and he's absolute horseshit. So I just want a fair market value for our players, and we're never going to get it if we keep taking low ball offers. It was 13 million for Virgil van Dijk back in the day. That was horseshit. Now we're talking about 25 or 24 and a bit million for Matt O'Reilly. It's just a bit amateurish. Much like a lot our board does.
I think it's not too bad. I'm not going. It doesn't annoy me. I think it's a good price. I think he's a very good player. I'm sad to see him go, but I think he's run his course and he's moving on to other things. And I hope he does prove to be a great success. But I'm not 100% confident that that's going to happen.
I think he's going to be a great player, man.
Okay.
I think he's already a very, very good player. I mean, pressing and cutting off lanes, especially out of possession, he is fantastic. And he's just got a coolness and calmness about him that he's gained over the past year. Going to a bigger league, bigger club with bigger challenges, I think he's going to be fabulous. I just hope he gets the chance if he moves somewhere else. It'd be a shame if, they switch managers or something happens and he's out of favor, and it's just one of those things that happens.
Exactly. He might not be a starter. He drops down the pecking order. His confidence takes a hit. His Indian guru can't talk him round.
Let's be clear. He's not going to a bigger club, is he? He's going to a better league and he's going for more money. He's not going to a bigger club.
It's a more competitive league.
Dano said a bigger club. A bigger club.
Okay, well done for picking him up on that, Dano.
Somebody in the comments will. So
not a bigger club. Definitely not a bigger club.
But he's going to be surrounded by better players and better opposition.
Yeah, it's definitely high level competition.
And he'll be at Juventus or AC Milan in a year or two for double the money.
Yeah.
So it pisses me off. I'm entitled to be pissed off about that.
Well, be pissed off. I'm not pissed off. I'm fine with it. I'm all right.
But if he's set on the move and then we block a move or something like that, then we have an unhappy player on our hands. A lot of the people are talking about that on the chat board. So that's definitely something. I'm not
advocating we block the move. I agree with Gav. The conversation was probably had a year ago. My only grievance is that we are letting players go on the cheap again, and he will go for significantly higher money in a year or two to an even bigger club. And I'm past the point of us being a stepping stone all the time. We should be getting fair market value.
I don't think we've been a stepping stone here, though. I just can't agree with that. Even if he goes for 25,
we will be.
What's your definition of stepping stone?
If he ends up at a bigger club for more money, we're a stepping stone, and so are Atlanta.
Classic stepping stone, brilliant stepping stone. We're like a mini trampoline in a back garden rather than a stepping stone, because he came to us from MK Dons for 1.5 million, and now he's got a big name for himself.
We want to be that. We want young players to come here and go, look what can happen if you do that.
That's what I'm thinking. So let's rejoice that it's been such a success rather than cry about not getting another 7 million.
Just another 2 or 3 mil. Just another 2 or 3 mil, Gav. I just want to break the 25 million
greedy
ceiling.
bastard.
Not a greedy bastard.
All right, let's move it on. Let's move it on. Renato Tapia. You've heard of this guy. This is the guy that was supposedly photographed in the airport, Peruvian. midfielder, defensive midfielder, possibly centre back occasionally. Does this one pass the smell test? Should we bother talking about it at all?
Not for me.
Not me either.
All right. How about
29
this
years
one, then?
old, never heard of him, not done very much.
Yeah.
And suddenly
Yeah.
we're picking him up.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Yeah,
It's not come
I'm
from
not-
any decent sources gone with it.
By contrast, Arnie Engels. Does this one have any more substance to it? Celtic have been linked with the FC Augsburg midfielder Arnie Engels recently. Apparently, we've made him one of our top targets if Matt O'Reilly leaves the club. Rennes are also keen, but he wants to go to a team that's playing the Champions League. So lots of echoes of the Matt O'Reilly story there. You think this one is any closer to being reality, Paul?
I certainly hope so. It's
Yeah,
much
me
more
too,
of the
man.
profile. It's much more of the profile we should be looking at.
Absolutely.
I don't claim to be across this guy, but I've obviously read up on him since the news broke. It's a guy who specializes in, I think, lowland, Belgian, Dutch, German football that sort of broke the story. And if we are selling Matt O'Reilly for 25 mil and buying him at 10 million, it's exactly what we've been crying out for the last 2 or 3 years to be doing. So it fits all of that, and by all accounts, he's been a key player for Augsburg, and he's in his first season. He's only 20 years old, so he's younger again than O'Reilly. So he certainly looks like a kind of the right fit for us. And what our fans have been sort of crying out for is to spend more than 2 or 3 million on a player, to spend 7, 6, 7, 8, 9 million. It's a risk, obviously, especially if it's a straight signing rather than a loan to buy, which is obviously more, we've got more protection on that. But he's certainly kind of the profile that that we should be looking for. So yeah, I don't know if it's more believable, but it's certainly, it's, dare I say it, it's how a club should operate.
Exactly.
Whether we expect that from Celtic is another story. But yeah,
I love it. I mean,
I certainly hope, if it's not this guy, it's somebody of a similar ilk. That, because we can't afford to sell O'Reilly and not replace him, or at least add to the midfield area with quality. But we definitely need to spend more money on other positions as well. So it can't be the end of the shopping in the next couple of weeks. But certainly it's of the right profile, and it's a little bit exciting.
It's incredibly tantalizing, this one. If you see, the second paragraph starts here: Engels would be an excellent addition to Brendan Rodgers' squad, and such a move would also showcase a change in the transfer approach at Celtic. Now, when Brendan came in, he kind of suggested, didn't he, that this was what he was coming back to. He was really excited. Remember, he said, "I'm so excited. I've talked to the hierarchy of the club," and we were all like, "Brilliant! We're going to start playing. We're going to start paying higher money. They were going to step it up and get away from that couple of million, sell for 10. We're going to buy for 10, sell for 40, things like that." That's what we all thought. Now, if this becomes reality, does that mean that we're getting, as you say, Paul, everything we want? Dano, does this mean, is this what Brendan was referring to? And, is this going to, does this mean the board are sort of getting the message?
It's questionable on that last part, but I think it would definitely put down a marker for possible future transfers, especially if this works out. And, he moved, he has a couple good seasons with us, 2 or 3 good seasons with us, moves on for a good fee. I mean, I do think this is more like the area rather than like 2 or 3 mil on a young player that we should be in. And from all accounts, he's a very, very good player. I mean, he's obviously more money than we paid for like Matt O'Reilly, who was, just kind of a relative unknown. But 20, 21 years old, bring him into the club, see how they do, get him more playing time as they're working. But Engels, I think, would be a really, really good replacement for O'Reilly. And he's got so much potential and upside from where he's already at. So I think it'd be a great move, man.
And here's another point from Andrew Galea. We've got to expect Hatate will probably be moving on in the near window. Got a plan for the future. These are players who, 3-4 seasons and they're off. So
you're lucky if
Yeah.
you get 4, right? So I definitely
Yeah.
think that 6 to 12 million is where we need to be operating more regularly. If we can pick up gems like Matt O'Reilly for 1.5 million, you've won a watch, right? But that shouldn't, it's fraught with more danger. And he was a weird case because, pandemic, and he left Fulham to get, game time, and then eventually pitched up at Milton Keynes Dons. So you don't really end up with many players that we know Matt O'Reilly's quite a quirky character, and he took a quirky path to get to where he's got. That's not going to happen very often. So we're going to have to bite the bullet and probably pay a bit more in transfer fees. But if they're young players, not necessarily ridiculous wages, for initially, in which case they could fit the model for 2 or 3 years, and then they'll move on to richer pastures. But the fees accordingly will jump up as well, and we can reinvest it back in the team. It's exactly what we were asking for a season or 2 ago, and it just hasn't really come to fruition yet.
Yeah. I wonder how much time it takes to actually kind of recalibrate your transfer policy and stuff like that, and to make it a reality. I mean, maybe that's kind of what the board was working on last year with, what was interpreted by us fans as like a lack of movement in the transfer market, which it definitely was. So I'm kind of wondering if we actually go with this, whether that is kind of a sea change that they've been working on.
Mahesh saying change or necessity. Celtic have to replace Matt O'Reilly attack contribution, or more drop points than last season could follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, in an ideal world, but you wouldn't have put it past them to just say, well, we've already got him and he was on loan here last year. But Monty saying Mahesh at long last makes a comment that appears sensible. Come on now, play nice, you guys. Honestly. And I thought I was going to say something really funny and original, but somebody in the comments already got to it. Who was it? I could hear the lyrics forming in my head if we were to sign him. And through it. Oh no, I'm not going to sing it.
There you go. That's a good enough reason not to sign him. That's a good enough reason not to sign him.
That.
And through it all, I tried to remain smiley. Then we sold Matt O'Reilly. He went to Italy. Something. I'm loving Engels instead. That was the idea. But that came up in the chat already. That's how sharp our commentators are.
They've got Stockholm syndrome, Gav, I think is what's happened.
It's a hard song to sing, actually. Just realized as I started into it.
I think all of the ones you give a crack are pretty hard to sing by examples we see here.
Yeah, I mean, they seem challenging, at least judging by the final product.
Oh, fucking hell. You guys, good job. I'm not easily upset.
Nice.
All right, then. Okay, reading between the lines, Rodgers also said recently, did he not, that, or the Celtic official statement when somebody inquired about Stephen Welsh, was that he wasn't available at this stage in the transfer window, which suggests we're going to buy a Scottish player or like a homegrown player. Who's that going to be, according to recent rumours?
Well, it's not really one ex-player suggested. I think the mental ex-Hibs centre-back, did he not?
That's not what I'm fishing for. You're talking about Porteous, Brian McClare talking about Porteous.
I am talking about Brian McClare talking about Porteous, but surely that's not going to happen. And I thought the only other one that was kicking around was Scott McKenna, but he's gone elsewhere, is he not? Is he?
Well, he doesn't have to be a defender.
All right.
I'm not calling it a like-for-like replacement. What's the other rumor about us buying a Scottish player?
I hope it's Lennon Miller.
Well, they're all talking about McCowan, aren't they, from Dundee?
Yeah.
In the news.
Yeah.
Miller ahead of Cowan every day of the week for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Cowan showed up decent, but what is he, 25, 26 already? Get Lennon Miller, he's 17, 18. Even if you buy him and loan him straight back to Motherwell for a season, do that, because that kid's already looking great. McCowan's looked decent, but he's decent at Dundee and decent in the SPFL. If he was any good, he'd have been moved up the ladder before the age of 25, 26.
Yeah.
I don't think, it's another Turnbull, isn't it? Not for me.
Yeah.
That's good news here. On VAR News, English Premier League refs will now have to broadcast live the reason for their VAR decisions.
Ooh.
It's quite exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's great.
That's good.
So we can expect that to arrive in Scotland in about a decade.
I was just about to say something similar, man. Yeah. It's going to take like active Sky.
Hibs do want McGowan. Hibs have made a couple of efforts, haven't they, to sign McGowan? But for $1 million, low wages, who knows? Might be all right.
We're coming onto this, but we're blocking the pathway for young players as it stands.
Yeah.
And now we're going to clog up our team with SPFL fodder. Nah, not for me.
Yeah, man.
Not
Keep getting the youngsters in, man. Keep getting the youngsters in, and God, get somebody up from the academy, like at a young age, man.
Yeah, Kelly's off to Millwall. What do you think about that move? Millwall, Jesus. You think that's a bigger club, Daniel?
I think that is literally the shittiest club of all time. They are the pits. Just awful, dude. Millwall is like my prototype example of just a fucking shitty club with horrible fans. I mean, aside from our crosstown rivals, but Millwall is piss, man.
So you're a fan?
Yeah. Big supporter. Yeah.
Good luck, young Kelly.
Yeah, I like him.
I hardly knew him.
I think the thing about Kelly is, I think he's badly advised. I do think he's badly advised. And I think Vat is badly advised as well. Like, they've basically frozen themselves out. And Doak as well is another one. Like, they've all gone. You can say it's for first team football, but Doak's not barely had any first team football. He'd have got more first team football at Celtic. He was offered 10 grand a week on a 4-year deal. So he'd have made plenty of cash by the time he was 20. And if he'd played well in those 4 years, he'd have got an improved contract above 10 grand a week. So I don't believe that Celtic aren't willing to put half decent contracts in front of young players, but they can make more money down south. He will make a shitload of money at Millwall, and he probably will get more game time, but will he rise back up to the ranks of playing in the Champions League or, winning trophies? Maybe, maybe not. I just think these players should sign the contract. If they're being offered a contract to be part of the first team squad, sign a contract. Either go out on loan for a season, like Kalmack did, like Ryan Christie did, like Ayer did, and man up, get regular games, and then come back. And if you're good enough, you'll get game time. You'll absolutely get game time. But they've got agents in their ear, and they're getting silly amounts of money waved at them, and they're giving up the opportunity to play for a club as big as Celtic, and most of them are fans as well, which I just can't get my head around it. So I've got some sympathy for. There's too many fans say there's no pathway to the Celtic midfield. How did Kalmack break into the Celtic midfield is my question to you. Because he went out and he got game time and he came back as a 22, 23-year-old and forced his way in because he was good enough. That's the only way you get in the Celtic midfield, is it be good enough. So make decisions that keep you in the club.
Take your chance. Take your chance.
Yeah, take your chance. Look at the tour just gone. Bosun Lull and Odin Thiago Home both got game time in the States. One of them has had game time off the bench twice in both games. The other one's gone to Stoke. So you might only get a tiny little bit of game time. You might get a tiny opportunity. You've got to take that opportunity. If you can't take that opportunity, you're never going to make it at Celtic. See you later. I've got little sympathy for Daniel Kelly. I think he's been badly advised, and he's not the first, and he won't be the last, unfortunately.
So is Quan going to do what you said? Go to Hibs, tear it up, come back, fight for a place, make it into the team?
He might, but he's 23, 24. But who knows? Riotati was 25, 26 before he came to us because he came through the university system in Japan. So I fair play to Quan. Any Celtic player that goes out on loan and is willing to stay in Scotland and try and get up to the speed and the physicality and everything else gives himself a chance. I don't know if he's going to make it, but he gives himself a chance. So you know, he's obviously showing that he's got some commitment to giving himself an opportunity, either in Scotland or Europe. It would be easy for him, like Idiguchi, to go back to the Asian continent and a team there and sort of disappear from European football. So I think he's got a crack. We'll see. Making no grand sort of predictions on that, but that's where our players on the fringe, that if the boss hasn't agreed that they are completely got no chance, then if they've got no chance, they're gone, right? That's pretty obvious.
Right.
Boss and lol, no chance, see you later. Laga Bielka, if he can get him off the books, he'll be the same, no chance, see you later. But if they're going out on loan and they're staying in Scotland, I reckon that there's potentially a feeling they can maybe do a job and come back into the fold. So yeah, that would
Dano would love that. Dano is our resident Quan aficionado advocate.
Yeah, I've got the website all sorted out with the Quan fan club, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I just hope he gets plenty of playing time. Gets this, you know, you just hope when they go out for loan, like they get plenty of action, like you've designed while they're out there. And Quan, I'm still high on him, man. I like what he brings to the table. Just we'll see what happens.
John Clement says, if Quan shines at Hibs but doesn't make the grade with us, then the English Championship beckons. Yeah, it can do him no harm to get in there and get some game time.
Yeah.
Mahesh is a big fan of Quan as well, by the way. He's better than Lawal and Home. He's still Celtic's fastest mid. He should be in the match day squad.
He can
you and
motor.
Mahesh are totally on the same page when it comes to Quan.
He's got amazing physical attributes, man. He is. I really kind of wish he wasn't going on loan this year, but
he'll get game time at Hibs. You see how bad their midfield was.
We'll see how he does, man. Yeah, but I agree with Mahesh, man. His physical attributes are fabulous, man. Fabulous.
See Kaiser's comment here, Dano.
Dano Quan Crackers, yeah. He already found my website. Kaiser, you son of a.
Well, on the subject of Hibs, then let's move it on to preview the game as we get to 52 minutes. What's the importance of this Premier Sports Cup, Dano, to you?
Obviously,
it's the Diddy Cup, isn't it? Who cares?
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the League Cup. I don't think most of the supporters of the club are, but I am crazy about our drink-alongs. And to have the opportunity to do another one, especially at the time slot it is here in Korea, I'm pretty thrilled to do it. I gotta see if Kaiser's down, but yeah, I like to see them doing well in every cup. You always want the club to win a treble, but obviously this is the cup that is of least importance on the pecking order for sure, as far as any competition we're in.
Well, that's funny. You went in a different direction there than I was expecting you to, and I think Paul's itching to jump in and go, listen, this year we got to get out there, we got to win everything, got to take that cup back off them, we got to put our foot on their throat. The domestic treble is the very least we expect. Look at the way the season has begun. So let's get out there and win every goddamn game and show them who's boss.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. But
words in your mouth there, Paul?
Nope. Spot on.
Did you go along with that?
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to ask every question to you in the future, Paul.
Every season, this is the one that sets the tone. You know, Ange came in, won that in his first season. It sets the tone. It gives you momentum. There's a half decent chance they could get pumped by St. Johnstone at the weekend.
True.
St. Johnstone had a good result in the league. They obviously had all week to prepare for it. They're coming back off the back of a shocking result. Terrible, sentiment around the club. There'll be no one, and they'll be like they won't fill that ground for it. They can't fill the ground for a Champions League qualifier. There's no way they'll fill the ground for that. If they go behind in that game, the atmosphere will be absolutely toxic. But yeah, we've got to go out and win the first tournament of the season. We can only do that by, winning these games. I would expect to see a bit of change to the squad. There was at least a match day starting team.
Yeah. Okay. What changes?
Look, I would say there's been some chat about managing Alistair Johnston in the early part of the season because he played deep into the when everyone else was having a break. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Ralston start. I think Adam Ida will come straight into the starting spot. Why risk Kyogo after the back of that injury?
Yeah.
You might rotate one or two other midfielders. If the Matt O'Reilly deal's pretty close, he might not start. Bernardo might start in his place. But yeah, maybe three changes. I wouldn't go wholesale. But Hibs were so poor. We should be able to, put them to the sword without our absolute best 11.
Sinisalo, any chance, Dano?
Well,
Either of you?
I don't see the point in doing that.
Yeah, I think there will be a few changes for sure. I mean, especially Kyogo getting a little knock over the weekend. I'd expect Ida to be straight in there, and he's been getting some game time down south, so I wouldn't expect him to lack fitness or anything like that. Ralston, maybe. Yeah, Canada did go deep at the Copa Americas, and maybe a change or two in midfield. I mean, who knows when or if the O'Reilly deal is gonna take place. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see not wholesale changes, but yeah, 2-3 players, maybe 4, but that's about it. I don't know. I mean, maybe one of the wingers. Kuhn has looked really good. I would expect him to be in there for sure. But yeah, other than that,
Everything points to a Celtic victory here, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It would be a massive shock if anything else happened.
Yeah.
Would it not? So
Yeah.
any predictions? 3-0, 4-1s, 2-0s.
Go 3-1.
Paolo.
Back to 4-0 for me.
4-0.
Standard. Yeah. We've had a fair few of them. We slipped up on the weekend, only won 2-0.
Should have been 4.
We should have beaten them more comfortably than that. At home, I expect us to. Yeah, 4-0 for me.
There's a guy called Jerry giving a 7-0. Is that our Jerry? Is that Jerry?
Yeah, he said earlier that it was him that gave you the Rob Riley thing. He sent it to you, so I assume.
Is that what that was? I didn't clock it was our Jerry.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty confident it's our Jerry.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely our Jerry then. That's one of mine. He said that's right. That's hence my confusion. Silly Billy that I am. Right, okay.
Can't call yourself a Billy, mate.
Look at this, Henrik McLaughlin. 4-0 if Schmeichel plays, 4-3 if Sinisalo plays.
Oof.
Not good enough, never going to make it. He's a useless donkey. I've seen him for 5 minutes. That's the Celtic fans' way. Hey, Henrik. Only joking. Only playing with you. All right, let's move it on to our social media choices then. First up, we have... This is yours, Paul?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't get the joke here.
Paul.
So you might have to zoom this in a bit so we can, yeah. So Reece McClanahan, McClanahan, if I pronounced that right, Gav, is a gold medal gymnast for Ireland. Obviously, he's put a nice post on and put the medal around his dog's neck. There you go. And then this wag, which I can barely read, Brexit Vincent, has gone from a Rangers cult hero to Olympic gold. Fair play. So this is a long game on social media jokes. This goes back to a bit of confusion with a less than brainy Rangers fan. This is from 2018. 12 years. So Peter Lavengrant's post 12 years ago today. Happy birthday, my beautiful boy, with an Instagram tag. And this Rangers idiot went, hopefully grows up and scores goals against Celtic, just like his old man. Well, here we go. We'll move forward from here. There he is. Happy birthday, my beautiful boy. And the rest is history. I think most of our viewers.
Peter Lovenkrantz was talking about his dog, and the stupid Rangers fan says, "I hope he grows up and scores goals just like against Celtic, just like his old man." And this has been ongoing ever since.
Yeah, this has been
Twitter.
ongoing ever since. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
This is Peter Lovinghans' beautiful boy. Yeah, so it's a real long game on a gag. I think a lot of Celtic fans that have been on social media for a number of years are across that one. But yeah, I thought that was quite well, very good actually. And I know that not everyone clicked on that, but yeah, hence us having to. It's never great when you've got to explain the joke, but I feel like we had to here for some people, including our host.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, some of us haven't been on Twitter that long.
Yeah. But
Alrighty.
pretty good.
Now then, what else have we got here?
Oy.
Dano?
Yeah. Yes.
This is yours.
Yeah, and if you zoom in, Paddy Power, aka one of Twitter's most prolific Hun trolls, the builder in charge of having Ibrox ready by September. I just really like this guy. He is just relentless on taking this out of Rangers at any time, and he also posts like kind of abstract rumors that could seem to be true on the face of it or something, but I think it's a pretty good Photoshop job, and just a good little piss take on the ongoing complete meltdown going on at Ibrox. So.
It is definitely a Photoshop job. It's not just a pic. I mean, what would Rod Stewart be doing in the building site?
I do like it though, Rod. You can buy it because Rod's hair always kind of looks like he's either been working his ass off that day or just got out of bed or something, so it's believable enough.
Alrighty, cool. Oh dear, Rod the Builder. Well, we've just gone over the hour, so I think we're in agreement. We're looking forward to the game.
Yeah.
Let me see. There's a couple of things I was going to put on for, what were they? For social media choices. Come, I don't have them lined up. Oh, yes, I'm going to show you these before we go. Just silence in the back of the class there. Work with this overhead projector. This is quite funny. Who did this?
That's
the rear wiper. Paul, you're in Australia. This news must be all over the place in Australia.
It is. Ray Gunn has split the public consent is pretty majorly. You've got some people are absolutely fuming at a lack of respect for the Olympic spirit, and then other people are going, well, it's up there with Eric the Eel and Eddie the Eagle, and these other people that they gave it a crack and they weren't really up to much, and they kind of become a cult hero. There's a bit of I don't know how true the story is, but there's a bit of a story. That she, because she's involved in some sort of breakdancing studies, she's a doctor with a PhD, she's a lecturer, that she sort of the Olympic Committee didn't know what to do with breakdancing, so they came to a dance organization and they didn't really know what to do either, and they contacted her because she had a small sort of breakdancing group, and basically they blagged their way into the qualification was about 20 people, and her husband was making the decisions, and suddenly that she's the selected person. I don't know how true that is. That's certainly getting heavy rotation. But yeah, some people are really not happy with the way the Olympic spirit has sort of panned out. It shouldn't be having fun at the Olympics. You should only be going to win medals. But yeah, it's certainly been a lot of memes and videos off the back of it. So it's amusing, if nothing else.
Certainly is amusing. I've hardly watched the Olympics. All I've seen is the controversies and the side stories and the memes and all that. but
Pretty
I
yeah,
much.
believe it.
yeah. Same.
The timing's been pretty poor for all of us. So in terms of
Yeah.
when stuff was on live. So yeah, not ideal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why people are talking about like suffering succotash and things like that. What's that a reference to?
I'm not sure, man.
It's not the Donald Trump interview with Elon Musk. But speaking of tashes,
I think Monty's ripping on me, man.
speaking of tashes, this is another little one I thought was quite funny. It's been a pleasure, Ibrahimovic. All the best. And that's Ibrahimovic leaving to join the Celtic. All right, cool. We better wrap it up then and say thank you to everyone. I just put a message up there from Demboy, who is our friend in India, who sent me quite an interesting thing that I'm going to weave into one of the conversations one day about our transfer policy and one way we can improve for Europe, maybe without overstepping the constraints that we're under as a club. But that's for another time. I see somebody else there sort of joining in the chat as if they're watching us and we're still talking about the allocation business. That's what happens when you join a live stream late, isn't it? And then you join in the comments. Your comments come up way towards the end. You know what I mean?
Well, if you go back to the beginning, like you rewind it a bit and it's not live for you, but then you're still commenting while we're still live. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know.
So you got to be here 11 a.m. Glasgow time for the start of the show. If you want to participate in the comments. Let me just hit this.
Hello, lovely boys. I love the Celtic world. I do. Absolutely brilliant. If you haven't already, subscribe immediately.
Immediately, without any further delay, subscribe.
Nice to have Ian on the show, even when he's not here.
Very good. All right. Okay, so everyone, thanks for everyone in the comments, as always. Great participation. You enrich the show. You're part of the show. You're part of a Celtic world as much as any of the faces you see on screen. Isn't that
Absolutely.
true? And not just the human faces.
Yep.
Show us your wee boy.
All right. You're not telling me to take out my penis, are you?
So somebody was asking his name earlier in the comments. It's X, isn't it?
X-Man. Yeah,
X-Man.
X-Man. But anything with an X, you could call him Xavi Lopez if you want. You know, I don't really care. But the Duke of Exeter, I call him all sorts of things. But yeah, there he is. Yeah.
Any good dog's got about 30 nicknames. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Anything with an X is a lot of people think it's X-Men, but clearly he's only one dog. So that's a pretty common slip up. But yeah, X-Man, anything with an X is acceptable.
X-Benedict.
It's acceptable.
It's excellent.
Let's not do this.
Duke of Exeter.
Dano, are you doing a drink along this weekend?
Yeah. And Kaiser just said he'd be along for it. So yeah, anybody
those
else
are the
from
two
crew wants to
mainstays.
join, you know, come and have a beer with us, man. We're gonna watch the game. It's gonna be brilliant.
What time is kickoff?
10 p.m. our time, Gav. Probably 11 p.m. your time, Dano.
Yeah,
on Sunday?
something like
Sunday,
that.
Sunday. No chance I'm drinking along on that.
Sunday, bloody Sunday.
3 p.m. I think it's 3 p.m. at home.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Months to throw in the freezer for it too. So
it's been a pleasure serving with you.
As always.
Yeah.
We'll see you on Monday to discuss what happened in the cup game, our glorious victory, and there could well be some movement. There's bound to be some more movement on the transfer front by then. A lot of exciting things happening that could all turn out beautifully. Much as today's show has. Until next time, everyone. Tatty bye.
Hail.